Good evening, everyone. Bob Zagami here, the Executive Director for the New England RV Dealers Association, and welcome to our October 17th show for this evening with RVing in New England. We got a special show tonight to talk about vintage restorations. I'm going to bring up John, and we'll give you the little intro and see what we're up to this week.
Hey, Bob, how are you?
Great. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Hey, I'm excited about our show tonight. And you know what? We usually do conversations about new RVs and what's the newest in the industry. Tonight, we're kind of going 180 degrees.
Yeah, I think the folks will really like listening to how they get restored. We got Brian and Lisa Arthurton, who I guess from Two Feathers Restoration out in Deerfield, Mass. You know, we were busy again this week doing some videos. We got the dealers to start to take appointments for winterizing. So if you haven't made your winterizing appointment yet, you want to make sure you get a hold of your dealer. And if you're going to be doing it yourself, you want to make sure you get to the dealer and get the right supplies and accessories so that you can protect your unit over the winter.
Well, you know, it's ironic that we're doing the show tonight because tonight we have a freeze warning.
That's right.
A lot of people have already given up on their plants and vegetables. But let's face it, if you think that you can make it, at least in New England, till the end of October or mid-November, like some people try to stretch it, you are risking thousands of dollars in damage. And I know when we talked to the people at Majors last week, when we talked to the people at Camping World, when we talked to the people at Arlington, they all have specials for winterizing, and they'll do it for you. And many of them include a roof check. And that's certainly a great benefit to do before you put that unit away for the winter. Some people leave it outside, and it's really subject to lots of craziness in New England with ice and snow and tree branches. And some people leave it inside, and there are other issues that you've got to be concerned with, even if you leave it indoors and in a heated facility. But
yeah, and a lot of the dealers have seminars that teach you how to do it. So it's good.
Right.
Well,
a lot of people want it. You know, there are those do-it-yourselfers, but let me tell you, you better not make a mistake buying the wrong kind of antifreeze.
Right, that's not what I do. Well, let's bring up our guest tonight and tell folks who they are. This should be a very interesting program. And hey, Brian and Lisa, good evening.
Good evening.
And here is all right over there?
Oh, yeah.
And if they look colder than John and I, Brian told us just before we went on that they are sitting in the shop, and the shop is not heated, or maybe they don't have the heat on. So they're bundled up a little bit more than John and I. And Brian and Lisa are owners of Two Feathers Restoration and Design in Deerfield, Mass. And I had written to them last year about joining the association, and they got busy and they're doing a lot of things. And then I saw something the other day. I think Lisa posted it, and I sent them another note, and we started talking. I said, you know what, we got to get you on the show. And as it turned out, we had a guest that scheduled up that couldn't jump in this week. So he said, would you like to come on this Wednesday? So within 48 hours, we got ourselves a new guest and a very interesting topic. Brian or Lisa, you want to tell us about the company and yourselves and let everybody know who you are? We get, by the way, we have several viewers on. So before you jump into that, let me apologize for stepping on you there, but I want to welcome Don and Mark Polk with RV Education 101. They're associate members of NERVDA. They try to get on the show every week. We got Jason Cole, the state director for, what's Jason? Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
Jason and his wife, Lisa. Ed Laturco's on tonight. Hope everybody's well down in Panama City. Ed's got relatives that were impacted by the hurricane. Bill Sell, who we've done some shows with and is a show guy in Boston and an electric bike expert. He's on tonight. Jerry Plant, who we always talk about every week from Majors RV, and he must be getting close to home. Jerry's over
full circle. He's in Connecticut.
Acres High. He's in Connecticut. Hey, we got Dwayne Cyrus, a longtime New England rep, Northeast rep for Winnebago, who is now doing business development with the dealers. And he says he just winterized his demo today. And I take it, Dwayne, your demo is still the Travado. We got Mark Polk, Jason. So we got a good group. So now I'll let you tell them who you are. They're sitting there listening to me talk. So go ahead.
Andy's watching from Florida, so he doesn't have to worry about winterizing.
Thanks, Andy. You haven't been here for a couple of weeks. Andy Parr, for those of you who know him from his young days, although he still looks extremely young when he drives around the country in his Prevost motorhome and his other units. But I suspect you're back at Disney World, Andy. He seems to almost live there, but great to have you with us tonight. Brian, go ahead.
Go ahead, Brian.
As long as you're all set now.
We're set. Until somebody else comes.
Right.
Well, yeah. Well, we can have some Florida weather. I don't mind if Andy sends some up our way, Please. But yeah, Two Feathers. We're going on our 4th year officially. I've been in the RV industry for quite some time, restoring the vintage trailers for quite some time. And you build a reputation. Well, unbeknownst to us, people keep knocking on your door. So we had to do something about that, and that's what we've done. So we do have a shop here. We purchased a property here in Deerfield a year ago. And so we got a wonderful acre of land here with a nice building, 50 by 60. And so we've now been building some staff. Of course, as you know, the industry is booming, very difficult to get staff. So we have 2 guys that we're training. One guy's a wonderful craftsman, does our cabinetry in-house. And we got a young guy in his 20s that we're training currently. And bringing them up in the ranks. And of course, my wife and I, we take all the training we can when we get the chance. You'll find us at the major RV shows, both for, internal and at the regular, average Joe on the street type show. We believe that training is number 1. So we do a lot of in-house, but also with the vendors. So that's who we are. That's what we're about, is quality. It's utmost. Of course, we love water. We love mice. Keeps us in busy for the average Joe. But our heart is in the vintage equipment as well. And
how did you get started with? You said you've been in the business for a long time, so I assume some of that was spent in the traditional RV business, maybe new or used. But did you just jump into it? How did you get into the vintage end of it?
Well, I love vintage cars, and that's where it starts. Coming from Southern California. Is where I started seeing the vintage trailers behind some of the vintage cars. And the excuse I heard was these guys have a passion for their vintage car. They don't want to buy another one. So what do? They needed another excuse. And they found a camper, and they outfitted the camper to match the car. And I kind of liked that idea. And I thought, gee, that's a cool idea. I've got my classic car. Let's go that route. And that's where it kind of took off. But then I finished one, and then somebody wanted it. So I sold it. So then I get another one. And it just kind of snowballs from that point. You learn how to do them correctly. And in some cases, you have to re-engineer them. You find just because a manufacturer did it one way does not mean it's the best way. And so we like to correct those issues.
Okay.
And
so
find quality.
Is it safe, Brian, to point out that you are in the restoration business, not necessarily the repair business? So if somebody comes to you where their sink isn't working, that's probably not your sweet spot, right?
Well, we are considered a manufacturer of the sense. We're a fabrication shop. Our heart is in the vintage, but we do modern stuff as well. We do upfitting from custom vans to a modern Class C. We're converting a bunk bed into a kennel. The guy shows his dogs. We have local RV dealers sending their clients to us because it's work they don't do. So we don't just specialize in vintage, but that is where our heart is.
That's where your heart is.
I just put that quick note up there from Mark Polk, because Mark is also a classic car nut and does his own restorations. He's done a Yellowstone trailer. He's done the Dodge Power Wagon, and he's got the same kind of blood that you have, Brian. So I don't know if you had a chance to meet him yet, but you two would get along really well.
Hey, Bob, we should also point out that Rhonda has joined us.
I guess there's not a Bruins game tonight then.
Yeah, but we should also point out that we want to welcome a whole new group of viewers that are watching us through RV Business. And that could be thousands of people that will be watching us this week. So we've got some new, everything old is new again. We've got some old viewers and a whole bunch of new viewers as well. So that's
what you holding up there, Brian.
So this is something that, as our trend of vintage trailers has grown on the West Coast, this is a magazine that's put out by Paul on the West Coast. He's up in Sacramento. Him and his family go to a lot of vintage rallies, and what started out as a simple black and white newsletter has now gone into full print. So if you are a vintage trailer fanatic, this is your magazine. And you'll have different stories, different rallies. They feature different vintage trailers that have been beautifully restored. And it's the Vintage Camper Trailer magazine. And so there's different rallies that you'll find throughout the country, and you could actually enter your own rally information and articles to him, and he'll include those in this magazine. And also in the back, there is actually information on rallies near you. And if you don't see a rally, find one and send it to him. And it's wonderful.
Is that called Vintage Trailer and Camper Magazine or Camping?
Vintage Camper Trailer Magazine.
Vintage Camper Trailer. Okay.
Get that a little closer to the screen for a second.
Yep. Vintage Camper Trailers. Now, Brian, before we go too much further, Lisa, all you've done is nod your head. Tell us what you do in the business, because when they're husband and wife businesses, it's very, very important that the wife get a chance to say what her activity is.
Behind the scenes, holding everything together. I work basically in the office, but I'm learning as I go along and developing almost the same passion as him.
Okay. Now, it's important also that our viewers be aware of the fact that I just lost my train of thought. Oh, I know what it was. The Two Feathers. Where did that name come from? That Two Feathers name?
Well, one of our other passions is our ancestry, and more recent, a couple generations back, I'm actually Cherokee in my lineage through my father's side.
I'm 1024th Cherokee.
I don't know how much that counts, but I'm a little more than that.
So there is some.
That was not planned, folks, because we didn't know he had Cherokee in his background. Having Cherokee in your background in Massachusetts can be very beneficial to your political career.
There you go. Well, with the name, you want to pick a name that's going to be memorable to a client. And Two Feathers, think about it this way. What's a feather? It's very light. It's very caring. And so we try to be a caring company, right? You want to take care of that customer. You want to produce a very good product and a high quality product. So I think that really fits this business very, very well.
Okay, so there's nobody in your organization named Pocahontas.
No, that's the wrong tribe in the
Okay. Okay.
Right, we have a question from Mark. Where do you subscribe to the magazine? Is there a website or is there a?
Yes, there is.
If you don't have it now, you don't have to chase it down now. But if you want to add to the comments later on after the show, Brian, because you can go back in. You got it?
I got you covered. It is www.vintagecampertrailers.com.
Make sure I got this right, Brian. If you can, I don't know if you can see it there. Vintagecampertrailers.com. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That is correct.
Okay.
It's $32 annually, and
I think Mark can afford that. I think Dawn will let him spend that. I think.
Yeah, you cannot go wrong, and
that's another reason why you'd like him. That's another husband-wife business.
Hey guys, I remembered my last question. It was so good that I remembered it.
His ADD clicked back in.
Yeah, kicked back in. I have a friend who runs a restoration business for cars where he does seats, he does boats, he does canvas for boat covers, etc. And he's so good that he's become known throughout the East Coast. So his business comes from all over the place. My guess is that you must have the same situation because there's so few people do what you do on the RV side. Where is your business coming from, and who's your customer, and how are they hearing about you?
Well, believe it or not, we advertise in Paul's magazine, but more or less it's our website. It's our Facebook page. We stay active, whether it's my wife or my father. We try to keep a presence in the different discussion groups out there. Past clients, they'll say, hey, spread the word. I just had a person email us today. Their UPS driver raved about us repairing their retro trailer, a newer unit. And we did some repair, and she has a retro unit that's had some issues. And so she's bringing it in next week. So word of mouth is huge. But most of our clientele, believe it or not, live at least an hour to 2 hours away or more. We've had clients come as far as the West Coast.
Brian, I want to
farther than that. Now,
we keep talking about the restoration. I want to put up a picture that you sent me today and ask you a question. Is this the Scotty that you're working on? Is this what it looked like when it came in?
Well, it was a little more together than that. Unfortunately, the gentleman purchased this trailer from Arizona off of a website that you can list your vintage trailer for sale. He paid $8,000 for it. And unfortunately, it looked cosmetically great until he got it to Boston. And the first rainstorm, it leaked like a sieve.
Okay, so the reason, all right, but the reason I wanted to bring it up is you are now getting ready to paint this unit. And that's
Correct.
what it looks like today.
Yeah, that trailer, in fact, had to be taken down to the bare frame, which you'll have other photos. And we discovered the frame was bent, had broken welds. And it was a complete top to bottom restoration. And while it's still a pretty basic trailer, it's sitting right next to me on my left side here. Yep, there's your broken welds. He does have quite a bit of money into it, but it's a gorgeous trailer.
Brian, you feel free to move your phone to show us that, if that hopefully.
Yeah, let's try an experiment. We've never done this before, but we're so fascinated with the work that you're doing out there. Brian's we asked him beforehand if he'd be able to take a walk over. Go ahead and take a walk over and see what the inside of that looks like, because this was the floor of it when he started.
Okay, that's a live photo, folks. We're breaking new grounds, Bobby.
Yep, we are, and you're seeing the very first view of Brian's total restoration of a Scotty. What year was that, Brian?
This is a 1970 Cyril Scotty Highlander.
So it's 48 years. So it's 48 years old, almost 49. Wow.
So you have a heater, air conditioning unit where there once was a rooftop vent. You have real cabinetry, unlike the flimsy stuff that would have been here originally. You have a really nice bunk. And what you can't really get a good grasp on is the type of birch actually has heartwood in it. And unfortunately, I don't have a light in here for you folks, but it's really great looking.
What kind of fridge is that, Brian?
That is not an RV fridge, but it's one that's owned by the client that he wanted. It's a Daewoo.
Oh, really? Okay. So it's a new one.
It's brand new. And you have your, we call it water closet, but it's really meant for your portable toilet. Then he's gone with the butcher block recycled table, a children's table that we've recycled, and that will have eventually a sink in it. Then we've gone ahead and put his electrical over here underneath his bench seat.
That's going to be the dinette.
Yep, you can see with a little bit of light going in there, you can see how beautiful this ceiling actually is.
Wow.
Now, is that exterior going to be painted, or is that going to be natural silver like that?
This is actually going to be completely painted. Now we're still doing some work on it. This kind of gives you an idea of what some of the front looks like. There's still some structural work that needs to be done on the front, but this kind of gives you the idea of what you're looking at for a front wall.
Wow.
Interesting. Hey, Brian, let me ask you this question. When you see units come in and you see damage and rot, what is the tip that you could give our viewers to be very careful about so that they don't encounter the same problems that you see with these units? In other words, what can we take special precautions about?
Well, when you look at a trailer, I tell people go to Home Depot or Lowe's and buy yourself an awl. And an awl is basically, for those that don't know, it's a screwdriver that you've basically eliminated the tip, and it's a really sharp point. Yeah, it can be a dangerous weapon, so don't get caught with it if you got pulled over, please. Mm-hmm. But you take that with you, and in inconspicuous areas, you can poke and probe. Anywhere there is a ceiling vent is a very problematic area. Typically, butyl tape that we find after 10 years of sitting out in the sun, these RVs are kept, without any proper cover. It'll start to shrink. It'll start separating from its surface. It's a good spot to look. So any vent, on your roof line, around the edges where there is butyl tape, those are very, very problematic areas. Underneath the trailer, if you have a trailer that has, such as like an Airstream, an older Airstream, you have your belly pans. They have no airflow underneath them. There's not proper ventilation in most cases. Air gets trapped in there, but so doesn't moisture. Moisture finds its way in there. If it doesn't have a way to escape, guess what? Rot starts. That's a problem. You got to ventilate these trailers. I love these vents that we now have that sit on top of your trailer. Allows you to open your vent. You open a window at the rear of the RV, right? Allows some airflow. If you can get a little small heating device, actually, Lisa, can you go grab that heating device? If you have a little hint of heat inside, that'll allow some airflow through the winter. In fact, this will be a product that I'm going to have my wife grab. You can buy at any RV dealer. It's wonderful because at least if you put it and make it where there's a proper airflow.
Where are you putting it? Where are you putting it?
Well, if you have a vent towards the front or rear of your trailer, you're going to open a window at the opposite end of your RV. And so my model here, hold on a second here. Lisa's holding a store dry. This is an electronic device that puts out just a little bit of heat to it. And that's going to promote the moisture from leaving your RV. So a device such as this is great. Yes, it's got to be plugged in, but it's going to promote that moisture to leave your unit. And again, that's going to stop that mold from starting. And mold is one of my number one items besides mice that will destroy your RV.
Hey, while you're up and about, do you want to show us your pride and joy behind us? That was when we were setting up. Bob, do we want to go to the old the 1930 unit behind us?
Oh yeah.
So what we have here that we opened up for you folks tonight.
I'm going to drop me off for a little while so that you can get a little bit larger view. Jason had asked that of the other one. Didn't see a note till too late, Jason. So I'll drop off and shut up, and John can add the commentary that we might need.
Okay, very good.
It's important to note that we have the best viewers in America because they're really part of the show. They're not part of the studio audience. They're up on stage with us. So go ahead.
Right. Okay, so what we have here is a 1931 Zagelmeyer tent trailer. It is better than 90% original with the original canvas.
Can you walk right around it?
Yep, we'll walk around it here. This is part of the Mr. Woodworth collection that was purchased by the RV MH Hall of Fame out in Elkhart, Indiana. So this is a drastic change from 1924. We have an auto camp here as well. And this actually has these poles in the back here, and you actually pull a cable and it helps you set this up quite quickly. And it has a collapsible desk, and it's got 2 beds, of course. And what's great is as this thing is folded up, it actually has a built-in step down here. And if I don't trip over my chairs here, you actually have a closable door, and that window actually can fold down and allow some wind to blow through and keep you a little bit cooler in the summer months. And what people always think this is, when we're going down the road pulling this with our Model A pickup, they think this is an artillery vehicle because of the fact that as you look down below, it looks like a Model T artillery wheel, because that's exactly basically what it is. But you can see the box, there's a storage box. But it looks very much like an artillery trailer from World War I. And you can see on the back side here, we have our back window. And a very interesting front hitch. This is a very important transition time for our modern style of hitches. And
what
as
year
you hook
that was?
This is 1931.
1931. And what are you guys, why do you have it? What are you doing to it? Is that your own toy or customers?
We acquired these two trailers from the museum. We are members of the museum. And the purpose of these two trailers, because we also have a 1924 auto camp that is not presently set up this evening. And we are going to promote the museum with these trailers. And yep, there you go. There's a picture showing the two trailers set up with the Model A out front. And so we are going to create a portable museum and promote the museum, which will eventually help us raise some funds to expand this mobile museum, and also help us preserve some of the trailers in which we have on display at the museum in Elkhart, Indiana.
Okay. And we should say, Bob and I just visited last month. And actually, I was there again in July with my wife. And it really, if you're anywhere near Elkhart or on your way to Chicago, it is very worthwhile to see how far RVing has come.
Absolutely. Jason's got another question here, Brian. He said, because every week we wind up talking about new and used vehicles and customers buying used RVs, and now, they can have them certified inspectors with the program Terry Cooper's got down in Texas, so that we can have them certified. But would even a modern day certified inspector, would they really know what to, how many people buy vintage trailers? So do you do evaluations? In other words, if somebody was buying a vintage trailer, if I was, I'd probably call you and say, can you come out and check it out? Is that a service that you offer to people that might get the bug to go out and buy one of these and maybe even fix it up themselves?
Absolutely. We actually teach classes both in the spring and the fall about how to find that RV, what to look for, what does it take to restore it, whether it comes into our shop or a shop like ours, or for them to do it themselves. But yes, as a service, as part of our business, we will go and evaluate whether it's a vintage unit or a newer unit. We will look at that and try to give them the best opinion that we can give them. Is it really worth the investment or not?
I know Michaud Bus Lines I think they're still in Lynn, Mass. They do something similar to that for people that want to, they're finding old Silver Eagles or old GMC buses, and they have no idea if they're buying a pig in a poke or if they're paying too much money for something. So you can call that bus company up, and they've got evaluators that will go out and look at the bus and give you a good estimate to either do it over or tell you what it's worth. So that's a valuable benefit that you have. Can you tell us a little bit more about the classes? I was intrigued when we talked about them the other day. How do they work?
Yeah, so one of the things that Paul does on the West Coast is we have what we call a boot camp. So he puts that on the West Coast, where they have a weekend where owners of RVers, vintage campers get together and they hold classes. Our classes are a little different dynamic than what he provides. We have a weekend that actually in the spring, we have 2 different weekends we offer, where you come to our shop, and we keep our class small, up to 8 people per class. And so we teach a generic class about the electrical, the plumbing, structure, what to look for in structural damage. But we also talk about the different techniques of construction that the RV industry has used. We also teach about the history of the RV industry. We first started this out with Art Week in Massachusetts last year as a pilot program for us. And we've gotten a really good response. So now we've made it as part of our normal business operation. And people have really enjoyed that. And so we're going to continue with that. And so people have really been fascinated with the passion that has been developed through TV programs.
Well, yeah, and Mark made a comment here. He said he paid $300. Was that for the Power Wagon or the Yellowstone? And he just put a bunch of dollar signs after it for the restoration. But going back to your class, do people pay for this? You don't just give this free of charge. How do they get it? They just get in touch with you at the website?
Right. So we have parts online. So we have a point of sale system online, which a person can go on there to sign up for the classes. And we offer the classes at $200 per class. And we break up the spring class into 2 separate days for the construction part of it. Then we also offer a separate class that is strictly for brand new people to RVing. It's kind of like an extension of our regular normal RV dealer network, in fact, where a person can come to us and say, hey, I was so excited at buying my RV, I didn't absorb all of that information they gave me that day. Very common, right?
Yep.
So we will actually go through their RV with them, and we'll actually teach them how to properly drive it safely. That is one of the number one problems you'll find out there now is people just don't know how to safely drive their RV. So we do a one-on-one 1 hour time slot with them after that initial class is taught.
So Mark, Brian, I'm sorry, you really do a lot more than your name implies.
Absolutely.
Because the name implies that you're only dealing with old units, but you will deal with somebody who's, and let's face it, when you're going through that walkthrough and you're picking up the unit, you're not going to remember anything. The only thing you're remembering is you got a full tank of gas and you want to head south or north. You want to get out of there quickly.
And you're looking at the first camp out, and that's what you're focused on.
Well,
Absolutely.
We'll get you hooked up with Mark and Don. They've got an affiliate program that you can put up on your site for a lot of the training and orientation type programs that it would really complement what you're doing out there. We got Kathy Belanger tonight. I don't know, Kathy, have you been here before?
Oh, Kathy's a friend of ours.
Huh? That's one of yours. Oh, okay.
Hi, Kathy.
That's the nice thing about sharing the promos beforehand, because hopefully some of your fan club shows up also. We know our fans will be out there and show up too, but that's interesting.
So I got another question, Brian. One of the things that I saw on the website is that the units that Bob put up a picture before, the old car in front with the 2 units, those are available for they're not available for rent. I mean, you're not going to let people go out and camp with them. But if they're got a theme party or they want to do a movie or something along those lines where they want that background, you'll bring those right to the person's location, right? In many cases.
Yeah, we're in development right now stages, but by the first of the year, we expect to have those available. We're going to make that as an extension of the museum and as business to promote the museum. But yes, we're going to make those available for rent. Our staff would be with the vehicles at all times while they're on display.
So it's not something that somebody's going to rent for the weekend and go to a campground. Right.
Right. You might have it at an RV show.
Yeah.
At corporate events. Yeah.
Right. And do you go to shows? Do you exhibit at shows as part of your marketing?
These particular trailers have only been local this summer, just in the last month or two. We've had to do some repair work. They still have some attention that needs to be given to them. We have a Model A shop called Snyder's out of Ohio that's so far has done some sponsoring. So we're still looking for sponsors to help with this project that we're working on with these vehicles. But we eventually want to get it set up so they'll be with their own displays, with their own signage to go to these different events over time.
Have you ever worked with a guy, Kittredge?
Yes.
The country candle guy, Rob, I guess?
You got Mike Kittredge, and then you have Nick.
Okay.
Nick has Crinkle Candle up here in Bernston.
Yep. And then my other question to you is, Robeson has a bunch of those cars and stuff, another Western Mass guy. Do you know him at all?
I don't believe so. Doesn't ring a bell.
I know he lives up in that Hadley, Northampton area. As you look around and you see the new units that are coming out that are trying to look like the old ones, you know, Bob, I would agree that when we were out in Elkhart, there were a lot of retro-looking units.
Yes.
Do you get people ever trying to blend the best of the old and the new, or is that something that I'm just crazy about?
Yeah, there is that trend. You know, we do go to those shows that are only for dealers because since we're considered a manufacturer. So we have been to, you know, out to Louisville, Kentucky to the RVIA show in particular. And I've looked at those. I do like the retros the best when it comes to who's doing the best job at it. We have seen those here for service, for warranty work. We just had one here a couple weeks ago, brand new unit that had some issues with it. It's production. It's the way it goes.
Well, you know, but don't gloss over that. You're not giving yourself enough credit. When I was talking to Brian yesterday, there's units that are sold by other dealers that may be retro or maybe elsewhere. But when it comes to warranty work, the manufacturers send them to Brian for the repair. Talk about that a little bit, because it speaks to the quality of what you have and the reputation that you have with the other manufacturers, that if they want it fixed the right way, then maybe they should send it over to you.
Yeah, one of the things we've done, we've made a couple trips out to the RVIA show out in Louisville, Kentucky, and I've touched base with the manufacturers and the reps there, and let them know who we are. In fact, one of the rep and actually a designer who's actually coming out with the new representation of the Ciro Scotti, we helped them out a little bit with the designer. They asked us our points of view as far as the Ciro Scotti prototype they had on display this last year. We're not afraid to give them insight, you know, consult them with things, but the word gets out. When you have quality, the word gets out. And so we've seen the last month or two where somehow, some way they find out about us. And so we've had the retro trailer show up. We've had a Forest River trailer show up recently. That was about 3 weeks ago, just out of the blue. And they were talking to somebody else, went to another dealer, and wasn't satisfied with that dealer. Then the manufacturer told them to come and see us. The manufacturer didn't call us directly, but I must say, Retro, that gal that's in warranty, man, she was on the ball with us. Worked with us really quick. She took my expertise in that particular unit. We replaced the front windows and tires, as well as a water pump, and didn't give us any flack for not being a dealer for them, whereas other manufacturers have done that. So it's a hit and miss, but it's starting to be a situation where we are seeing our name get out there and being respected for the quality that we provide.
Hey, Brian, before we go any further, tell us physically where you're located. So if people are, you know, heading out on a weekend and they want to drive by, or at least call you first to make sure. But Deerfield's not that far. And
No.
the thing that I know is that, you know, 91 and and 90 and Route 2. And, you know, you might think you're out in the middle of nowhere, but you're not.
No, actually, well, we can tell you which road to take that really makes it feel like you're in the country. But in reality, if you're coming from the south, from Connecticut, for example, you come up the 91 freeway, and Deerfield, you can get off in two different locations. You can take the scenic route, which is the same exit that you get off for Yankee Candle, which is a Deerfield exit. You can head north on Route 5 and 10, or you can go all the way up into Greenfield and get off in Greenfield. And again, you're just following Route 5 and 10 south once you're in Greenfield, because we're right on the border of Greenfield and Deerfield. We're about 2,000 feet south into Deerfield, so we're right on the Deerfield River. There is a truck route you're going to want to watch for when you're talking about the Greenfield area, because there is a train bridge that is quite low. It's only a 12-foot clearance, so you do not want to bring us any extra work unless you really want to send us some business, which I don't mind, by the way.
So you just pick up the pieces of the bridge and bring them back and put them all together again.
Oh yes, we love watching those videos. But if you are coming off the 91 freeway in Greenfield, you're going to get off at the Rotary there, and head eastbound, and you're going to see a Dunkin' Donuts just before you go up the hill into downtown Greenfield. You're going to make a right-hand turn there. Follow that around. You're going to hit a street light. You're going to see that train trestle right to your left there, and you're going to know why I told you that. You're going to make that right-hand turn and follow south.
Great.
Hey, Brian, we love the fact. We love the fact that
we got to do.
One second.
We haven't done yet.
Yeah, I know, but we love the fact that you're in New England, but you still got a little bit of the California thinking in your head. See, we don't call them freeways here; we call them highways. So
highway.
we freeways are that stuff out on the left coast for those people. Go ahead, John.
It's not the 91.
I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
Not the 91. So, folks, this is the time that 20 minutes ago I should have reminded you this too. The way we can get this show, continue it to go, is to have more views to it. So, if you're looking at it on a mobile device, down below it has a little share button. So please share it. If there's some friends that you think might be interested in the subject matter, just share it along with them. If you belong to some RV groups or anything along those lines, or vintage restoring groups, put it on their Facebook pages as well, because that's how we get thousands and thousands of views. In fact, if the Polks are still here, what are we up to? About 7? We're up over 7,000 with the Polks, right?
Yeah, they crossed over 7,000, so they're in second place of our all-time shows, only behind Don Clark, who's up at 10,700. So we'll have to see if we can get Brian and Lisa a little bit higher. While you guys
you can say something if you want, just so we know you're still there.
Yeah,
we're still here, but it's like grumpy old men. We're enjoying you two talking over each other.
Yeah.
But that's because we don't. That's because we don't rehearse.
That's right. There is no script. So Brian, what does the future hold for you? You're setting up a solid foundation there, but if you look out there 3, 4, or 5 years, what do you expect to have for a company and types of things that you might be doing?
Well, this type of business in which we're setting our groundwork for can go in a couple different ways. I can easily see us have 2 different divisions of business. One that solely focuses on the vintage and side of the business, where it's vintage restorations, or what we also call retro mods, kind of like in the vintage car side of things, where that Cyril Scotti that you saw earlier, I consider that a retro mod. Why? Because you're only saving the chassis, the windows, the doors. Other than that, the structure is completely new. I can see us with a division that just solely focuses upon that. But we also do some tiny house builds and conversions. We did a conversion a couple years back on a 73 Roadrunner and converted it into a tiny house. Whereas he started getting into customizing RVs, building out, these vans, that can be a whole separate division of its own. So it's kind of like the beginnings of a company such as Marathon, for example. It just depends where we want to take it. But we have to keep in sight is the quality. We want our employees to feel as if they own the business. We do want to offer profit share, but we do want to have a strong, close-knit business, such as my father. He worked for a company that all the employees were essentially owners in the sense of how they ran the place. And that's really important. That's what made Yankee Candle who it was when Mike Kittredge ran it before it was sold. We want to give that sense of feel and ownership here with us as time goes on.
Hey, I think we got a member of your fan club on here. We got Mr. Lebrecht from Diamond RV has graced us with his presence tonight. And he says, "Hi guys, nice to see some guys from the Western BBN part of the state." That's a knock on John and I guess. Mark, we come out there, we do videos at Diamond. You were just out there at Diamond,
That's a knock on you because I'm from Agawam.
Oh.
So that's a knock on you, and you're from Somerville, so we can't have more diverse backgrounds from where we came from. And Deborah Sullivan, is she one of your people, Brian?
Yeah, we got Deborah Sullivan here. Is that part of your fan club, Brian or Lisa?
That's Lisa's sister. She's a troublemaker. Out.
Well, at least the family supports you. You know,
Oh, certainly.
come and check it out.
Absolutely. She found us. We're in trouble now.
Yeah, I know. So, Mr. Lebrecht, any winterizing clinics coming up? I think I put two things on the page for you today. I put a Newmar tour video that they put up, and I put Bobby's latest and greatest video that come in this weekend and buy a motorhome by Sunday, and he'll give you all kinds of freebies. So you better watch out. He's giving up the store there.
I was going to say
You're the man, Bob. Only emails.
Yeah. So
a little empty down there, so they've had a pretty good sales season by the looks of it.
Oh yeah, he's got a tremendous yard full of product down there. So he said, John, you're the man, but Bob only emails. No, I come out once a year when I know the assignment is too difficult for John, then I come out and I take care of it, Mark.
Sounds like a lousy excuse.
The guy wants me to drive all the way to West Hatfield. God, I'm over here in Hudson.
Wild.
Yeah. So Mark Polk is pleased that he's gone over 7,000. So we got to get him a few more. But that's a solid second place, by the way, Mark. That's John's assistant he's putting up there, his placeholder. All right. Anything else the folks should know? Oh, wait a minute.
Oh,
we were waiting for the parents to show up. When we have people on, we get disappointed if the parents don't show up. We welcome Mike Arthurton. Glad to have you, and glad you're enjoying the show. But you know what? One week we had Logan Gregoire from Vermont Country Campers on, and his parents were on vacation in Italy. And they dialed in from Italy and were making comments from Italy, which put them at about 2 a.m. And I know because one of our earlier shows this year, I was in Italy and John was handling the stateside end of it. And I get up and broadcast from 2 o'clock in the morning in Italy. We're just so dedicated to what we're doing.
Or nuts.
You're right. Mr. Lebrecht says, second winterizing clinic next weekend. Bob's giving the house away. Bob loves to give the house away.
Especially when Mark's away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when Mark goes to Florida, watch out. You get the best deals in West Hatfield, that's for sure. Up and down 91.
Well, once we get this podcast, I got to do a winterization tonight. You know that.
Hey, so hold on a second here.
That's right.
We're getting notes from your parents here. Is there anything you want them to bring back to you, or you want to tell them when you're coming over? Do you need a shopping list or anything else along those lines?
Well, if they're in California where it's warm,
Yeah, they said they're not coming back till the spring.
Yeah.
You're not seeing them.
They're the smart.
Weather too. We're outside time here,
My good friend Laturco says, great show and love to see creative minds in the industry. Well, he must be talking about Brian and Lisa, huh?
He ain't talking about us.
No,
give us your website one more time.
Yeah, give us all the information so people will know.
The easiest way to find us, even though we own a few domain names, the easiest one would be twofeathersrv.com.
And that's TWO, not the number 2.
That is correct.
Okay, great.
Then our business also has a Facebook page, Two Feathers Restorations and Design, and you can follow us on that as well. We usually, my wife usually posts a lot of the activities that are going on. We try to do it on a weekly basis, but sometimes we get too busy. But at least every 2 weeks, you'll see some posts there that are currently going on. We just put a 1959 Tour home in our paint booth this afternoon. So we're pushing the envelope on the weather, but Friday says it's 60 degrees, so it's our last day probably painting. But you'll see some photos there of our brand new outdoor paint booth. That's a blow-up portable unit.
Wow. Hey, and you Atherton guys, you should be aware of the fact that we have a lot of viewers on this show throughout the year so far. You got 3 compliments from Jason Cole, from Mark Polk, and Joe Cavosa. And also Laturco too.
Yep.
And these guys don't hand out compliments that often.
Yep, they thought thought it was an amazing show. You did a great job. Lisa, feel free to share any of the posts that you see now on the NERVDA Facebook page, and,
All right.
and we'll share some of the stuff that you have. We always try to share our members, and they are joining NERVDA as an associate member, which we're glad to have them, and we're delighted. I just had that feeling that this was going to be a kind of an interesting show, and as John said, we don't ever practice this stuff. We just wing it. If John and I can't talk for an hour, something's wrong with us. Call the doctor or call the undertaker.
It's kind of shocking. I'm usually the one that talks a lot, and I'll tell you guys are making it a challenge for me to keep my mouth shut because you guys are doing a good job.
Bob controls the microphone.
Yeah,
He's got the button.
Brian, I want you to know,
button ready for you.
Brian, before the show, I said to John, I said, look, this guy's a talker like us. So it's going to be very difficult for us to maneuver around tonight and make sure that we get everything in. So you're a good sport. Brian,
and all your relatives liked it too.
Yeah.
There you go.
If mom and dad like it, you can't go wrong. You know?
If we miss anything, I guess we're going to have to come back on in the future,
Well, now it's nice. Now it's nice they know you got a real job, Brian. He's already.
But I'll tell you, if you go to the training, I talked with our guys in this morning's meeting. We'll be there for November 1st.
Oh, you're gonna go on? Okay, yeah, you're gonna come to the Lippert training on November 1st. Great, that's the one. Yeah, November 1st is the one in Connecticut. Yep.
Like I say, you can't stress training. You got to have it. That's what makes it more efficiently and makes some more money, right?
Absolutely.
Name of the game.
So your dad says great show. Deborah says great show. So Lisa, your friend likes you there. Your sister. She gives the thumbs up. So we got dad and we got sister.
My sister.
Yeah. And dad says Brian and Lisa work hard, and now we proved it. Look at it. It's 8 o'clock at night and they're still working. They stuck around just to
do winterization, right, Brian?
Yeah, I still have to do a winterization on a camper tonight. Yes.
And we get to watch the Red Sox.
Right.
Well, you might have the Red Sox going, but it's not uncommon to find us here from 9:30 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night.
Oh,
okay.
I thought when you took that pause, you were going to say we'd have the Yankees going.
Well,
maybe the Dodgers.
Yeah, I'm a little West Coaster still,
Yeah.
The Dodgers are from Brooklyn. They only have the Los Angeles. They only have the Los Angeles name on them.
Dodgers helmet, actually.
You what?
I have an original Brooklyn Dodgers helmet still.
There you go. See? Well, all right, folks. We are coming up once again to an hour. We're always amazed at how quickly the shows go, but that's a good sign that our guests do a great job, and our audience and our viewers are faithful to us every week, and they feed us a lot of ammunition. So, Brian and Lisa, I want to thank you very much for, number one, the short turnaround and being such great guests and letting everybody know the other side of the business, that it's not all flashy new stuff in the showroom and some of that used stuff, but the stuff that you're doing out there is absolutely fantastic, and we look forward to hearing more from you. John, any last words for you?
You know what? My wife and I are just discussing whether or not we can squeeze one more night of camping out Friday, going into Saturday. I know it's supposed to be real cold tonight, but the weekend's supposed to warm up. We're trying to get that one more night of camping out of it. And
if you're going to go camping, you got to come and camp in our little camper.
Okay, great. Perfect.
All right, and folks, don't forget, if you would please share it with your friends and your pages that you're on, and let's see if we can get a real good high number. Now, I'm sure Mark and Don wish you success, but they probably want you to stay under 7,000 views. So, do that. Brian, you want to say good night, and any last comments from you?
Well, thanks for having us. People are welcome to give us a call Monday through Friday, 9 in the morning till 6 p.m. at night, and we're by appointment on the weekends.
All right.
Have a great day, everybody.
Guys, great having you. See you everybody next week. Bye now.
Bye-bye.